Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna. What's up with y'all? And welcome to the first episode of the Roses with Empathy podcast. So, before we get started, if you don't mind, please follow me on Instagram at _RoseGoldEmpathy. So, this is my official page where all of my other outlets such as YouTube, SoundCloud, and Amazon are linked. And my link tree is in my bio as well. So I hope everything is easily accessible and you can reach me when you need me. So again, that's _RoseGoldEmpathy on Instagram. So I'm 22 years old. I'm a black woman, queer, freshly graduated philosophy student based out of the Bay Area, specifically Vallejo, California. Put us on the map. I'm also the author of Caffeinated Rumination, which is my debut poetry compilation book, and that's on Amazon. And I also do a little bit of graphic designing and artistic, visual work, such as painting or drawing, graphic design, all of these things. وكمان نتكلم عربي، ولو في واحد زيي عايز بيتكلم معايا خلينا نتعرف مع بعض يعني. So what I just said was I speak Arabic also. So if anyone wants to speak to me and, we can do that. We can get to know each other. Yeah, so with that being said, firstly, I want to talk about the purpose of this podcast series. So personally, my goal is to reach as many people as possible with information that I deem to be reformative and replenishing at the same time. So basically, I strive to challenge our previously adopted modes of thinking and encourage the reformation of our emotional cycles. I think that the best way to make change happen externally is to make change happen internally. So the first season of episodes will focus on relationships of all sorts, like platonic, romantic, sexual, familial, all of these, because all of them serve their own purpose in our lives, and they determine the way we see the world, I feel like. So I chose this as a starting point for Roses with Empathy because I'm aware that relationships do play this huge role in how we see our reality. So for that, I want to deliver information that is useful to the vast majority. And with that being said, I also want to emphasize that I'm not a relationship expert by any means. I do not have the credentials to give any professional advice in this realm or anything like that. However, I'm still entitled to sharing my own thoughts and opinion, which may be just as helpful as anything received by a professional. Another important note, I don't intend to use any profane language in this podcast series, as I want it to be accessible and palatable for all social groups, but at the same time, I'm not going to be so restricted and proper that I don't allow my natural vernacular to motivate my delivery of the information. So, for example, I might say words like hella or damn every now and again. So, for my listeners who have a sensitivity to profanity or just think it's flat out inappropriate, here's a trigger warning for you, and thank you so much for your understanding. So, now that we've covered the purpose of the podcast a little bit, let's take a break and we finna regroup and get right into the nitty gritty. Living black in America, that's breathless. Hands up, don't shoot, get shot for breakfast. The melanin deficient, they say we restless. They work us up each day, don't know what rest is. If you not strong, then you get left, yeah. Our baby's dying, cause we don't live the message. Just shoot the messenger. We need to change ourselves, they need to change them first. Why we 20 years old, thinking about the hers? Don't we know that they pockets is where we hurt them worse? So much pain in our plight, but we content with purse. Gucci not gonna save you without a cell first. Alright, y'all, welcome back. So the song that you was just listening to is called I Can't Breathe. And it's a song that I recorded recently, sort of highlighting, just how bad things are for Black America right now and how they have been for so long. And so if you want to listen to this song in its entirety, because that was just a small promo clip, you can listen to it on SoundCloud. But to get to my SoundCloud, you can either go and type in my name at RoseGoldEmpathy, or you can go to my Instagram where everything is linked together in my link tree and it will get you there easily at _RoseGoldEmpathy. So again, this is my song. It's called I Can't Breathe and it's on SoundCloud right now. So you can find it on SoundCloud as I Can't Breathe and then Rose Gold Empathy, or go to my page, which is at Rose Gold Empathy, or go to my page on Instagram, which is at _Rose Gold Empathy. So thanks so much for your support. All right, so enough with all of the self-promotion. Let's dive right into what rose gold empathy means. So, when I was writing and publishing my poetry on Tumblr way back like in 2015, I gained a little bit of attention, clout if you will, and I sort of decided I need to come up with a memorable tagline for myself. Branding is so important, and it's very hard in the writing community, the poetry community, because a lot of times people will remember what you said and how you made them feel, but they won't remember your name. So I was thinking back then, I really need to come up with something that people are going to remember, because maybe they'll think of what I said years down the line and be like, yeah, I wonder what she's doing now, but they don't even have a name to go to. And so I wanted to be memorable in that way. So basically, back then, what was really popular was putting a hyphen and then your initials. So that's what I was doing. I put hyphen BAA after every poem. But eventually I realized that this didn't really accurately represent who I was, and definitely not who I wanted to portray myself as. I just felt like it was so bland. I felt like my initials by themselves after something so vulnerable and deep and triggering just was insufficient. But let's be clear, that's not to say that I don't find honor in my name or any abbreviation of it. It is just to say that I felt I wasn't doing myself justice enough, especially after some super, profound poem for myself, and just seeing BAA. It's I don't know, it just didn't feel right to me. So in 2018, I went on this random username generator online, and basically you go in there, you put in all the words that you want to be a part of your username, and then it uses some algorithm and determines this quote unquote perfect username for you based on your interest. So I did that, and the 3 words that stuck out and ended up being generated together as a username were rose, gold, and empathy. And of course I put these words in there. So maybe there's this question of why do you think rose and gold represent you? Well, when it comes to roses, I see that the most common metaphor used in association with them is this sort of evolution, that is a state of evolving towards something. And usually this is something greater than what the rose was previously exposed to or dealing with. So for me, I've experienced a lot. I'd say more than the average 22-year-old. And a lot of the recurring themes in my life revolve around sort of traversing through these internal struggles. And I say in a few of my poems and songs that the hardest fight I'll ever fight and I've ever fought is the one right inside of me. I feel like I've been in several wars and not a single weapon was used other than my thoughts. And it's crazy because the mind is so powerful. I think it's easy to underestimate just how powerful it is, but that's another topic for another day. But anyways, I said all of that to say that for me, roses symbolize sort of this overcoming of obstacles generally, but also I'm taking it personally to mean it's a symbol of my own self-evolution. It symbolizes the evolution of self. So because a rose's blossom, although it takes, external factors such as sunlight and water, there is to me this sense of leave me alone so I can grow type vibe that resonates with me hella. So I could go on and on with that. So anyway, let's just move on. The roses for me, it's about growth, evolution, self reformation, stuff like that. So gold. Okay, so what is gold? There seems to be less of a readily memorable, let alone identifiable metaphor or symbol that gold represents that's universally agreed upon. But when I put my mind to it, I think of wealth and glamour and luxury for sure. So this part of my stage name is more so what I want to attract in my life. But at the same time, I can't say this is entirely the case because I usually use rose and gold as one word, rose gold, like most would. I don't put any periods or any exclamation points or any other punctuation marks in between each word in my stage name. So maybe that was already clear that they aren't separated, but it's kind of strange to think that I only mean rose gold and not rose and gold because I just explained this whole bit about roses. So it's sort of I think this speaks to my fluidity and my sort of ability to mold into different forms. And this ties in a lot to the last part of the name, which is empathy. So for me, empathy is a huge part of my life that I didn't see the utility of until I was 18 or 19. For me, the ability to sense and resonate with the human experience of others and everything that it entails is so important, because without empathy, I don't think we can have humanity. Like, emotional intelligence is something so overlooked, and I feel like, when we read the work of people like Audre Lorde and understand that poetry is luxury, in the sense that the way that we are able to be vulnerable and be empathetic to our own and the vulnerabilities of others is the same way that we are better equipped to navigate this life. And it's actually really crazy, because a lot of people who know me don't perceive me as empathetic because of how I express my empathy. And I think this is because the way the media has sort of epitomized or characterized empathy is by an overproduction of dramatic emotions such as crying. And so here I'm saying dramatic in the truest sense of the word, which is like causing people to pay attention or attracting attention, basically. So by this definition, of course, crying is dramatic. And I, for one, do not take crying to have an inherently negative connotation. But, we all see how society views crying as opposed to like anger, for example. But again, that's another topic for another day for sure. But back to what I was saying, I think that this idea being pushed by the woke community, that empathy means we just start crying whenever we see anything remotely triggering. For example, seeing someone we love cry. And, maybe an empathetic might do this, like an empathetic person might do this, but I don't think it's fair to say that someone who doesn't start crying every time they see their mama crying isn't empathetic. Like, that seems very untrue to me. But because we all express our concern in different ways, right? So with that, I think that the most crucial aspect of empathy is this aspect of being aware. So awareness is not something that everyone is tapped into, for sure, because to be aware is to be knowledgeable and hopefully understanding of what it is that's happening and existing in any given time frame. So as it relates to emotions, ours and others, it seems like even more of an arduous task to be aware. So just to tie it back and conclude before I go off on like this tangent, the empathy part of Rose Gold Empathy relates to my own journey of like emotional intelligence and willingness to experience people. So Rose Gold Empathy is the founder of the Roses with Empathy podcast, and I named the podcast Roses with Empathy because I feel like it describes me, and I hope that you all can adopt this ideology of yourselves that we are all constantly in this state of evolution, and during it, we should be aware and empathetic. So that's all the time we have for today. In our next episode, we will discuss trust versus love in all types of relationships. This should be really exciting, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts with y'all. So again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can find me on Instagram at _RoseGoldEmpathy. So I'm gonna talk to y'all later, roses. Stay empathetic, stay woke, stay guarded, be vigilant, and be safe. Like, it's a crazy world out here, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next episode.